Hey guys, this is Doug with Fellowship of the Martyrs. Doing a video real quick. Kind of in the middle of some other stuff and thinking about a lot right now. But I want to reflect with you and ask for prayer a little bit. Not last night, but the night before. All night long, I wasn't having dreams. I'm not sure how to explain it exactly, except there was some message that the Lord was trying to talk to me, and He was giving me a specific Greek word that I knew that when I woke up, I had to find out what that word was and what He's trying to communicate. and some message about unity. Sometimes He's real clear. Sometimes He speaks to His people with pictures or feelings or smells or something that there's no really good way for us to communicate that. I was researching Plato today, who I don't particularly care for, and I think he's got a lot of blood on his hands for nonsense and the general Aristotelian idea that Gnosticism, that knowledge is going to make us closer to God, which is the whole basis of our academic system, and including the seminaries. Not that relationship with Jesus is going to feed you, but that more brain power is somehow going to get you closer to God. Anyway, Plato had a whole bunch of secret teachings, unwritten. They weren't really secret. His people that were there in his presence, he would tell them, but basically they were unwritten because he believed that just the writing down of certain concepts would take the truth of it away. That there was no way to represent it accurately or express it in writing, so that it was something that had to be handed down orally. And I get that. A lot of times the Lord can tell us something and there's no way I can get my head around it, or I can barely understand it somewhere in my heart, but there's no way I can express it to you with sufficient strength and clarity and whatever. So or times when he'll tell me an earthquake's coming and I think it's a natural earthquake and it's a spiritual earthquake or whatever, but I didn't understand, or I didn't ask the right questions, or I didn't press in, or I heard in part, or whatever. Not that he spoke in part, but that I understood in part. We all see through a glass darkly, and we need to have some mercy, because it's a very difficult thing to try to understand God all the time. Anyway, I checked and tested, and he said it was him, and that it was important, and so I woke up and called Zach, because he's the resident Greek and Hebrew expert that we have at the moment, and said, I need you to look up this stuff for me. Specifically, there was a word, and the word was hupostasis, Hupostasis. And it sounded kind of familiar somewhere. I don't recall any reason why that word would have stuck in my head. It came in while I was sleeping, and it was over and over and over and over and over. I remember waking up and going to the bathroom and I need to really remember this, and then hoping that I wouldn't forget. It's a lot of times you have a dream and then it's just gone when you wake up, but you knew it was important. When I did wake up, I just pulled my cell phone and called Zach from the next room over to see if he was up yet, and write it down and have him look it up. The other thing was that I had it really impressed upon me that there's two different kinds of unity, that there must be some Greek word that expresses a completed unity, a finished work, and then something that expresses a growing into unity, that until we come into the fullness of the faith, until we grow up into Him who is ahead, until we come into the unity of the faith. The unity, when we talk about unity, it's a dial, not an on-off switch. Like so many things I talk about, salvation and other things, it's a dial, not an on-off switch. So if you think, I prayed the sinner's prayer, bam, it's done, work, I'm saved, I think you missed something. If you And unity is certainly something that is misunderstood, because Paul Washer, in one of his videos, says, don't insult the bride. The bride is one, the bride is whole, the bride is spotless and white, the bride is pure. Okay, I get that those who are of the bride and are righteous are all those things. Yet the bride as she should be is not complete. There's lots of people missing. There's people that are getting cleaned up enough to qualify to be part of the pure, spotless bride, but she is still the daughter of Zion. She's not yet the queen. She's still growing up. She's still prepubescent, adolescent, and not yet ready for the wedding. So, is it wrong for me to say the bride's a whore? Well, okay, yeah. The bride, as she is pure and spotless and white. She's just itty-bitty right now. The church is a whore. Okay, the institutional systems, structures, denominations, all that kind of stuff, that is different than the bride. Some of those think they're part of the bride, but they're not. They're in adultery. Those that might be in some of those buildings and really truly love Jesus with all their heart and are walking right with him are actually part of the bride, regardless of whether they're part of the institutional church or not. So they're not adulterous, they're just there, but they're not of it. But the vast majority are completely sure that they're fine and rich and have need of nothing, and they're blind, rich, and naked, and poor, which is exactly as it was predicted it would be. Okay, so Zach, a couple hours later, messages me and with some Greek explanation of the word hupostasis, and it essentially means a standing, the standing under. It is the foundation under something. It is that which supports the rest. I mean, that's shorthand. Okay, I'm sure maybe there's some Greek scholar who wants to help me out, give me some better understanding. I'm not sure what to make of this right now. I'm trying to process with you. Some people think like I just made up the Red Dragon book or something. They don't get that there was 3 years of crying and fasting and begging and pleading and looking through the Bible and trying to understand it, trying to fit all the pieces together before it was ever launched. And even then, there's been revisions since then as things have been added. So it's not like someone just gets a revelation from the Lord and it's a completed total thought and package in the first pass, and it's totally understandable. A lot of times, there's stuff that he's whispered to me 5, 6, 7 years ago, and I'm scared to death to even touch it. I'm scared to death to, until he confirms it a whole bunch of times, fully explains it to me, makes it real clear, and tells me I'm to say something about it. I'm not letting it out. Okay. Anyway. And probably some of the times when I've got into trouble is because I let something out too early. I thought I understood it. I thought I had the whole thing explainable. And yet there's mysteries I can't get my head around or can't quite understand exactly the way I should have. And it comes back and bites me somehow. Anyway, so he's talking about these two things. And I'm trying to, on the one hand, I'm asking you to pray for me to have wisdom, or for me to hear better, or for him to give more revelation and understanding, or maybe he gives understanding to you and you're supposed to provide it to me. So I want to leave the comments open so people can feed back to me what they're hearing from the Lord that it is that maybe I'm hearing. But on the one hand, he's talking about hupostasis, which is the foundation under everything, that everything has to be supported by something. And on the other hand, he's talking about unity as a completed work and as the process to the completed work. Now, I believe that what he's urging me toward is to really seek him about what the foundation is. What is truly foundational, because you can't have unity without the proper foundation. That if you are transitioning into unity, but you're on sand, that's not true unity. One is going to lean this way, one's going to lean that way. There's not going to be any stability. That as we're transitioning toward unity, we better figure out what the foundations are. What foundation was laid by the apostles? What foundation is laid by Jesus that everything has to sit on? What is primary issues and what is secondary issues? Now, whether you use instruments or not in the worship service has to be a secondary issue. It just has to be. Whether or not a guy can be a man of God and have long hair, okay, that's got to be a secondary issue. I get people, as soon as I saw you had long hair, I knew that you were not a man of God and nothing, I should believe nothing out of your mouth. Okay, fine, God bless you. Step along, move on to the next Jesus-like guy with a crew cut. Because, Jesus had, like, marine flat top. In all the pictures. Oh, wait, no. That's right, they don't. Anyway, so I believe that wisdom is the little kernel of truth at the heart of everything. That you peel back the onion and down at the bottom is the truth. Is that one little nugget. An oyster, a drop of sand gets in an oyster, a little rock gets in an oyster, and it begins to build a pearl around it so it won't irritate it and whatever. But inside that pearl, somewhere is the little thing that started it all. And it's not particularly valuable, but that's at the core of it all. So wisdom is seeing through all the layers and getting to that thing at the bottom. Wisdom is when two women are fighting over a baby and they come before Solomon and they don't know what to do. And out of his mouth says, no problem, I got this. Cut the baby in half, give each of them half the baby. And one thinks it's a good idea, and the other throws herself on her knees and says, no, don't, just give it to her, just don't cut it in half. And Solomon goes, it's her kid, give it to her. Now, could it maybe not have been her kid? Maybe it was the other lady's kid. But she deserved the kid more than the one that said, yeah, that's a good idea, cut it in half. Wisdom is to not worry about all the noise and distractions and, well, I need to see a birth certificate. We're going to need to check the footprint on the birth certificate against the whatever. None of that. Wisdom is bam. And everybody goes, oh, man, that is so wise. That just cut right to the center of everything. The problem with wisdom is that it'll get you killed. Because the people that make a living on the layers of the onion really don't like it when you cut all the way to the heart of the onion and toss all of the skin aside. Nonetheless, if we're going to have unity, we're going to have to find what is the foundation at the center of it all. What is primary and what is secondary? And people are going to disagree about that. And I don't want to have oh my gosh, if we have an endless fight about what's primary and secondary, the whole fight is secondary. At least some portion of it or something. So, and I don't know how to dictate what the foundation is. I just know we need to find it. That everybody needs to hear the Lord tell them what are the non-negotiables. I don't want to write another Apostles' Creed, another Westminster Confession, how many do we have already? The people go on Sunday and they read this and we all agree to this and this is what we all believe and some of it's secondary, some of it's primary. I know we need Christ and Him crucified. Paul preached Christ and Him crucified. In the full sense of what Christ is, the Messiah, of God, was God, came as a man, lived in the flesh, walked sinless among us, was Messiah, was Savior, died on the cross, took our sins, resurrected, ascended, is coming back for us. Christ and Him crucified. It's not Jesus and Him crucified. That could leave open some, there was some Mexican guy named Jesus no, Christ. And everything that meant and everything that goes along with that. And Him crucified, resurrected, or He wouldn't be the Christ. I'm kind of talking this out. A lot of times I get revelation when I'm doing a video, and I'll watch it later and go, wow, I didn't know that when I started the video. You guys don't understand how often I start a video not sure what I'm even going to say, and then get revelation along the way that answers questions I didn't know I had. I don't know. I intend for this to be more interactive than the normal videos. And I'm not sure. I had it turned off right before the video, then I turned it on, and then I did the video. I'm sorry. And it's Rachel, and she's 14, and she's just going to keep calling and calling and calling. So let me just silence it now, because I turned the phone off, and she said, oh, well, he turned the phone off. Let's just try again and again and again. And I love her like a daughter, and she's 14. God bless you, Rachel. So, hupostasis. Look it up. See what God tells you about it. Maybe there's a Greek word for unity that implies a process toward unity, a growing into unity, an acquiring of unity, as opposed to just a completed work. Because I know we're not at the completed work. Well, the mini bride, the daughter of Zion. Look up all the verses about daughter of Zion. It's really interesting how he shows a transitional process, especially that video I have about the ark in the Psalms, where she's never referred to as the queen. She's never referred to as wife. She's constantly the daughter of Zion, growing up into the fullness of who she's supposed to be. And I think that's where we are right now. And, I hope we can be full grown soon and get this over with. Anyway, I'm just confessing I'm not sure what to do with it. I certainly am not teaching what I don't even understand what he's saying, but I'm asking for feedback, or at least prayer on my behalf from the bride, to get some better understanding. I feel like it's important. I know that it was going all night long. There was nothing else. There was nothing else in my head. There was no pictures, no dream, no nothing. It was just hupostasis and just a whisper that there's something different about unity completed and unity in process, and that hupostasis was important. So, if you would get back to me, maybe other people are hearing the same word and they don't know what it means. Maybe it's something he's whispering to lots of people. I have no idea. I'm just trying to be obedient. Do the video and put it out there, and let the bride, see, she called again. Let the bride judge what to do with it. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks. God bless you. Lots more at fellowshipofthemartyrs.com. And please continue to pray for us.